And if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free. I've built many startups, most of them have failed, so Bitcoin is exactly the place that I like to be. We're going to end it right there. You hear that? You hear that, guys? That is the sound of cicadas. That is the sound of nature outside my garage early this morning. What I want to talk with you guys about today is 3 reasons why learning to be alone is ridiculously powerful. Learning to be alone is ridiculously powerful. You know, we live, and I don't have to explain this too much to you guys, but we live in a day and age where there is constant activity coming into your brain, constant active stimuli coming into your brain, visual stimuli, audible stimuli. And so much of this is self-induced because we wear these symbols, these signs, these marks of the beast around with us all the time. They're called cell phones. These cell phones move us to check things, to constantly inundate ourselves with active stimuli. To be alone is powerful. Not to be misconstrued, by the way, with being lonely. Actually, if I were to be frank, whenever you feel lonely, that's probably one of the best times to lean in to this idea of being alone and to embrace it. Why? Why is it important for us to be alone? Because we need to learn how to think. We need to learn how to read. We need to learn how to meditate. We need to learn how to sit. These are all intentional acts of exercising the mind. That is what I'm talking about. Is that learning to be alone is learning to create intentional acts of exercising the mind. We are too much in a state of consumption in today's world, guys. We are always in a state of consumption. We're consuming media from tweeters, from Facebooks, from Instagrams, from Snapchattaroos, from TikToks, from LinkedIns, we're constantly consuming. And one of the problems with this is that we never really have the time to digest and to think and let it sit there and marinate and wonder and consider how this stuff is affecting us. Let's just jump right into some of the studies. Clearly, studies have shown that learning to be alone helps you with your empathy. It increases happiness and self-satisfaction in life. It helps you increase your ability to deal with stress management. And learning to be alone decreases depression. This stuff all makes sense. We live in a hyper-connected world. We live in a world where things are constantly being thrown in our face. And so it is hard for us to be alone. I find it fascinating. Certain individuals that I know, friends of mine, that it is fundamentally clear that these individuals cannot be alone. It is impossible for them to be alone. And the reason is, there's a multiplicity of reasons, but I'll tell you 2 very distinctly. One of the first reasons why these individuals it is impossible for them to be alone is because they have actually never trained that muscle of being alone. They have constantly surrounded themselves with other people, constantly taking in their advices, constantly taking in their inputs, constantly melding themselves to the crowd. These are the type of people that can't live without other people. This is a sad dependency. This is a sad, relational dysfunction that you literally can't be alone to yourself or you go crazy. These people have behaviorally trained themselves to suck and to leech off others. Not like this, it sounds like a bad thing, but it is a bad thing, but they don't see it as a bad thing. They just can't be alone because they rely, and this is a bad thing, they rely on others. They're dependent on others. The second reason, and I'm thinking about a particular friend in this case, the second reason most people, or at least people in my sphere of influence who can't be alone, is because these people These people are afraid of what's in their own head. And why I say it that way is because these people have hurts in their past. They have massive scars in their past that they know that when they are alone, these demons rise. They come up from the grave and they attack. And many men and many women would rather never deal with it until it's far too late, until it's poisoned and destroyed their lives. Guys, I think for those who know me, and I think if you were to take any guesses, in terms of just looking at me doing these types of podcasts, these types of shows, it's fundamentally clear that I have learned to be alone. And I'm going to give you right now the 3 reasons why, and I wrote these down in my notes, the 3 reasons why I believe that learning to be alone is power. And this is just coming from my experience, guys, here. The number one reason, let's just jump right into it. The number one reason why learning to be alone is power is being alone increases your self-awareness. You have to sit and deal with yourself. I think most people haven't ever had to really face themselves in years. Are you afraid of what you might find? Like the guys, some of the guys that I know. Are you afraid what you'll find? Are you afraid what you'll see? Are you afraid what you'll uncover? Are you afraid what scars might come up? Deal with it. Deal with it. It's so fascinating to me that please don't miss this. If you're listening out there, please don't miss this. It is so fascinating to me that people want to find other people to be with that they believe will help fix them, will help make their lives better, will help, especially when it comes to dating, when it comes to girlfriend, boyfriend, these types of things. You're always looking for that perfect one. Well, guess what, brother? Guess what, sister? That other person on the other end, they're looking for the perfect one too. And you're not that. You're not that person. You know why? Because you haven't done any self-care. You haven't been self-aware. You haven't improved yourself. You haven't dealt with yourself. You see, I find it fascinating that people are always looking for someone else to help fix them, someone else to help make life perfect. Once I find that girl, once I find that guy, everything's going to be right. Well, that guy or that perfect guy or girl has probably done a lot of self-care. They're probably highly self-aware. And you know what? They're not looking for you because you're not right with yourself. Does that make sense? Here's a quote. The best remedy for those who are afraid, lonely, or unhappy is to go outside, somewhere where they can be quiet, alone with the heavens, nature, and God. Because only then does one feel that all is as it should be. That's Anne Frank. You guys know Anne Frank? This girl, Anne Frank, who spent 2 years from 1942 to 1944 in hiding during the German occupation of the Netherlands in World War II, had the gall, had the audacity to write something like this about self-awareness and being alone. She said the best remedy for those who are afraid, lonely, or unhappy is to go outside, somewhere they can be quiet, alone with the heavens, nature, and God. Because only then does one feel that all is as it should be. You see, Anne Frank is a stalwart example of someone, even in the midst of contextual strife, war, death, can still be self-aware and alone and have peace. She was able to heal. She was able to see the world for what it really was at that time. Being alone avails you the opportunity to be self-aware. Deal with yourself. Deal with yourself. Get over your hurts. Get over your pains. Relive those scarring moments. Move over. Reprogram yourself. Reprogram yourself from those hurts and change it. We've talked about this before in self-programming. Self-program those hurts into positives. Be self-aware. Deal with life so that you can be in a better position to take advantage of opportunities, to be open to opportunities, not to be in a constant consumption state where you're always consuming and never ready to give, never ready to go. You haven't exercised the muscle of action. The second reason why learning to be alone is power is you get to learn to think for yourself. I cannot tell you how many people I have met, even friends that I have had, where it is clear that their entire life is dictated to them from other people, whether it's parents, aunts, cousins, some influence, friends, don't care, but these brothers, these sisters will not think for themselves. When you learn to be alone, when you learn to sit and think or read or meditate or just sit there and stare, this is what I do a lot. But when you sit there and stare, you become empowered to make your own life decisions. Let your heart decide where you want to go, who you want to be, what you want to do. Think for yourself, for fuck's sake. It's you got a limited time on this planet. For fuck's sake, why are you letting some other people dictate the process, dictate the flow, dictate the path, dictate the future of your life? That's craziness. Let me give you another quote from a German philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer. Arthur Schopenhauer, a German philosopher, said this. He said, "A man can be himself only as long as he is alone. And if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free." Wow, we got dogs barking in the background. We got my next door neighbor working on his car. We got the cicadas all outside, guys. This is nature. We are communing with nature, guys, today. Let me say this again. German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. He said, "A man can be himself only as long as he is alone. And if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free." Think for yourself. Think for yourself. Be yourself. Think for yourself. You don't need to fix others. You don't need to heal others. You don't need to help others. You certainly don't need to save others. See, this is something that I struggle with. What I struggle with is I feel like everyone needs to be saved. I'll be honest with it. Why do you think I'm giving out all of my heart, all of my soul in these daily podcasts, these daily shows? Because I feel like there's so much in me that I need to extract it all before I die. And someone's going to miss it. I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's even worthwhile. But you know what, something I struggle with, and I don't mind sharing it with you again. I'll share it with you guys all the time. I feel like the world needs saving. I think people need saving. That's why I build stuff to help people. That's why I build stuff to build and create stuff that can improve people's lives. That's why I create these podcasts and give it away for free. Ain't nobody monetized here. Ain't nobody making any money here. I struggle with it, man. I don't need to fix people. I don't need to heal others. I don't need to help others. I don't need to save other people. Save myself. Save yourself. Fix you first. Remember what I said when it comes to self-awareness. And fix you first. Don't try to find someone else that's going to fix your life. They're never going to fix your life. If you find the perfect person, trust me, they ain't looking for you because you're not the perfect person because you haven't worked on yourself. You haven't fixed yourself. The third reason, and this is really an outcome, The third reason why you should learn to be alone and why learning to be alone is power is that when you become more self-aware, you deal with yourself. When you are able to think for yourself, you can have peace. This is number 3. You can have peace. Peace comes when you are able to think for yourself and when you have self-awareness of who you are. Because when you know who you are and when you have empowered yourself to think for yourself, then you will know 2 things. Number 1, you are good, solid. You are healed. You are whole. And you are free. When you are good, and you guys let me help you understand what I mean by good. When I say good, it means you're solid. Mentally, physically, healthy, spiritually, right? You're good. You understand the scars. You understand who you are. You understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and what you're good at. You're solid. You know yourself. Know thyself. You know you're good. That's power. When you can think for yourself, you're not a slave to other people's thoughts. You're not a slave to a communist news network. You're not a slave to mass media. Then you're free. So when you are good and you are free, what can you do with this power? What can you do with the power of knowing that you are solid, you are good, and that you are free to think and do as you may? That's the question for you guys today. And that is what comes out of learning to be alone. In your thoughts, writing notes like this, like my notebook. When you are alone, when you learn to be alone, you have time to think for yourself. You have time to read and learn from others. You have time to meditate on the goals and the future you want. You have time to sit and marinate and deal with the issues of life. When you come through all that and you are able to be alone, you will have peace in life and you will be powerful. So, the question I have to ask you is, what could you do with that power? What could you do with the power of knowing who you truly are and what you're capable of, and that you have the ability, because you're free, to do it? What would you do with that power? This is Peter, the Bitcoin Lambo. If you like this episode, smash the like button, subscribe, and share this with one person in your network today who maybe, just maybe, needs to learn how to be alone and to deal with themselves.